Whatever, everybody. It's the Built Different Podcast. My name is Ricky, CEO and founder of Extropian, company COO Sean, and one of our data scientists, Justin. Today, we want to talk about the evolution of broadcasting in sports, how it's evolved over the years and over time. Before we got on the call, actually, Sean and I were talking about what it must have been like back in the day watching, well, not even watching broadcasts, the broadcast of sports, but kind of the evolution of where it started to where it is now. So can you guys imagine a world where, first of all, you would have to go to the arena to actually see the match and then maybe read it in the newspaper after? Can you imagine not, you know, actually having to buy a ticket to actually see what happened and what occurred, and then reading about it after the fact? Can you even fathom that?
No, I can't.
No.
That sounds so weird to me to think about.
But then, like, imagine after that, like, okay, cool. We have this this wave of radio technology, and now you can listen to what happened at as far as your favorite sports team, your favorite sport.
Yeah,
Imagine listening to it and not actually being able to see it. And I think it wasn't that big of a deal for those people probably back then because they didn't, you don't know what you don't know, and
yeah.
they didn't know, like, man, I could actually watch this on something in my house. You know what I mean? But it's crazy to think about that though, like, and it makes me kind of, and we'll talk about the future of it later, but we're probably cool with what we have now, and like not thinking there could be anything better, but there's always something better on the horizon.
Well,
So
Yeah.
mhm.
I find it funny that like now people are complaining like, oh man, like I can only watch the games that like are on my like local like region, like my region has only like this game or that game. So it's like we're complaining about only being able to watch like 3 games in a day versus like back then they were watching zero. So
Yeah, like listening to a broadcast on the radio, and like imagine like I mean, you're hearing, oh, it's first, fourth down and 10, and he throws the ball. You're just sitting by the radio, like you're not seeing it happen. That has to be. I mean, that had to be really, really, really crazy. But it's crazy to think about being a fan back then. But let's step closer into today and broadcasting, and obviously, the evolution was from radio to television and internet. But what is your thoughts on the broadcast now? Is there a particular sport that you guys think does it better than the other? Like, what's your kind of, maybe not your favorite sport, but you think the presentation and broadcast is better than what else with all the other sports? Sean.
oh, um, I I mean, I personally don't like watching basketball that much. I definitely don't like watching soccer. I don't know if that's just like the sport itself that I don't like watching, but like I feel like the times that I've gone and watched soccer in person, it's been a lot better. Like the like excitement that you feel in the stadium, like I just don't
Mhm.
feel that watching it. Like I've never really felt that watching it on TV other than maybe like the World Cup because there's usually with the World Cup you're watching it with a bigger group of people and you're all rooting for the same team, so it's like slightly different. Um I would say, as far as a favorite sport to watch, um probably NFL and football. It's just I like that, even when I'm not watching my own team, like I can watch multiple games at a time. College football, there's, games, multiple games on every hour. So like
Mhm.
I don't like watching commercials personally. I'm not a commercials person. So
Yeah,
whenever the
soccer.
commercials come on, it's like, okay, next game, and then
Mhm.
if there's a game I really am wanting to watch, it's like I'll be aware and like go back to the previous game I was watching. So um I also I like I want to try to watch hockey, but I have a really hard time following the puck. I heard that there used to be a little red dot that would like follow the puck around and that like hockey, like older hockey fans like hated it and then they got
Mhm.
rid of it. But like to me that sounds great cuz I don't know, like I can never find the puck and I'm like why am I watching this? So Yeah, I would say football is probably the top one for me, but Justin, what about you?
I mean, I agree about football. I love the way that I love watching Red Zone. Some of my friends don't like it. They prefer to just focus on one game. They think it's like too much information to constantly be shifting to like every 5 seconds to a different game. But I love it. I love the fact that there's what 16 game or not 16 game, like 3 to 4 games happening at 1 o'clock, two more games at four, and but like you're able to constantly switch between all of them, so you get the best of everything. I love that they do that. I like that. They started using like more drone shots a little bit. I don't know why they don't do it for like at the rest of the play, but like whenever they break the huddle, you see them like panning the drone camera around so that you see down the field. I wish they would do that more, like have that camera view so you can see down the field during the plays and stuff. But yeah, just seeing like the accessibility of football now, I think has gotten so much better, and I feel like the camera angles that they use, the commentators are really good now too. Like Tony Romo, I think is like the best commentator, not just because he's a former Cowboy, but he.
It's your second time in a row mentioning Tony. Second podcast in a row with talking about Tony Romo.
He's the man. I just had to bring him up again. But yeah, I think football does a great job of that. And then I like watching. Of course, I love watching like combat sports too. I feel like if there's not quite as much of a need to do like split screen stuff because it's really like only like certain events happen on the same night, But yeah, definitely football and combat sports. But what about you, Ricky?
And I apologize if there's any background noise. This guy decided to start trimming hedges outside my house, so hopefully nobody can hear that. But live podcasting. Well, not live podcasting, but we just, we do it. Um, so going back to what you were saying about the red zone.
Mm-hmm.
I have DirecTV still. It's a little old school, but I had it primarily because I had NFL Sunday Ticket. But they used to have. Your friends are so against the red zone because of all the switching and everything. But I would have all of the games up because it's DirecTV. I imagine the NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube has the same thing. All of the games would be, in a row
Yeah.
and smaller screens. So I would literally watch every game. And what you would do is you would switch the cursor to the game you want to hear the sound from. So I'm literally like watching one, look down, see something happen, and quickly watch. So I'm like all over the place on a Sunday. So I used to enjoy that, and when I'm ready again, I may do the same thing with YouTube TV. But sports that I love watching, who I think have a better presentation. You mentioned soccer or European football or football. I love it because there's no commercial breaks because the commercials are so annoying, especially in football. I hate. I mean, I understand it from a business standpoint, but every time something happens, every time another team takes over, you punt the ball. You're like, damn it, I don't. It makes your team having to punt the ball even more frustrating because you gotta like, damn it, they're gonna go to commercial break. And yeah, so that's why I enjoy soccer. I enjoy F1. I think F1 has amazing presentation because there's no commercials. Typically, yeah, there's no commercials. Yeah, I don't think there's any.
So,
Like now, I'm like, I don't think F1 has commercials. Or yeah, actually no, I think F1 does have commercials, but it's very limited if they do. I'm brain farting here, but their presentation is amazing because they take you inside the cars. There's a lot more of the team aspect, the relationship between the driver and his crew. There's the aspect of the back and forth between teammates. You know what I mean? And just there's so many different elements they show you. They have a great, like you said about drones, great presentation with drones. Um, there's onboard cameras. I think from a fan perspective, I think F1. I think they probably do the best job of bringing the fan into the sport and making you feel like you're on board with the driver. You know, kind of what's happened situationally, and then I mean, it's not only just the drivers, but also the vehicles. You're aware of what's happening with the vehicle, your tires. There's data on the tires, there's data on the cars and the aero, and it's just I mean, they do an incredible job, and I think excuse me, they did a good job bringing people into the sport as well through Drive to Survive, which I know Sean, you were saying your parents watched.
the the worst commercials in my opinion are the ones in NFL games where it's like there's a commercial and then they do the kickoff and then like because it's a kickoff they do another commercial. It's like we literally just watched a commercial. We watched a play that usually nothing super exciting happens and then they just make you watch another. I get so mad about that.
What gets me too, Sean, is when they stay on the field, but then there's like the little border. They put a little border with a commercial, and
Oh,
they
Oh,
do the
those.
splits. It's like what? Just can we like not have a? Can we just watch the damn game like without any interruption, please? I don't care if they're in a huddle or they're switching. Offense is coming on the field, defense is going off, whatever. Less commercials would be fantastic. And that's what's like I said, soccer. They during the halves they put all the commercials on, and that's why I think soccer does a great job with all the advertisements around the stadium as well, because there's video boards. That's primarily why they don't do the commercials, because there's always video boards for all the sponsors.
for sure.
Another sport that I like watching, obviously I play it as well as disc golf, is what they do. They do a lot of different things because they're not as much of a mainstream sport. They do have like some live broadcasting of it, but a couple of the different channels do like post-production broadcasts. So um, they put it out typically like the next day, like the next morning it comes out for like the featured card or the lead card or whatever. And that's really cool because it just allows them to do a lot of like extra stuff with the broadcast. And the one that I like watching is called Joe Mez Pro. And the three guys that are typically like the commentators for that are professional disc golfers who are playing in the tournament. So they like the day before they're playing, they're throwing these same like holes and same shots and like providing analysis on like usually it's other people, but sometimes they're actually analyzing their own throws as well if they're the ones on the video from yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really cool. They also, and Ricky knows this because I took him disc golfing one time, but like Ricky, you
You
know
just
how like the discs like fly in different like pathways and stuff like that. They do like if there's a good shot, they'll do like what's called a follow flight. So they'll like show you like the specific path the disc took and like it like just barely missing a tree by like half an inch. And it's like really cool to see the different paths and things like that. So I really like that. And it's on YouTube. So it's like you can, but it's not YouTube TV. It's just regular YouTube. So anyone could go on there, watch it for free. You don't have to have a subscription or anything like that. So I like that about disc golf and about their broadcasts. I think that's like a different way of doing it. It's not live, but it's cool. I like it.
One thing I was gonna say as well, broadcasting what I like before we move on to the next part of the podcast. I'm with you, Sean, with basketball. I stopped really watching it. Like I just think it's dry. I don't, it's not like what it used to be. I think the competitive nature of it and just the game and overall. But what I do love is, and this is kind of, I've seen it from people that don't watch basketball either, like that hate basketball or watch other sports, is their love for inside the NBA.
Yeah.
So I think that's another facet of sports is the pregame, the postgame, the different shows on network TV or on streaming that talk about the games. And inside the NBA, I mean, just from a cultural standpoint, from even sometimes political, anything that's current events, um, that show is amazing. Like, so I'll watch. I record their halftime, even if I'm not watching the game. I record the halftime. I record their post game, their pregame, just because I love watching those guys and laughing at the things they have to say. Because they a lot of times it's not even about basketball with those guys.
Part part of that I feel like is really just the personalities of
Yeah.
the four guys. It's like that's what people are going to see. Like my mom's a huge Charles Barkley fan. She's like I would watch like anytime there's a commercial, like especially like during the March Madness and stuff, they do tons of
Hmm.
commercials with Barkley and she's like anytime she sees it, she's like, stop it, we gotta watch the Barkley commercial. So I think other sports could do that too. Like you just got to have those guys that have like the like more like recognizable personalities and brands. Like I think there's some golfers that are kind of, a little bit like wacky that would make
Yeah,
funny, like, I don't know when they would do that because there's not really like a halftime in golf, but like I just think that'd be funny, like miking up some people. Like I think you could do that with football. I'm sure there's some characters, some guys who like running their mouth that would be pretty funny to listen to.
Pat
Philip
McAfee.
Rivers used to be that guy that people used to always say said some crazy stuff, and they would talk about him.
Well, I think they're doing that now too with like the Manning broadcast, and they
Hmm.
bring on like I don't think the Mannings themselves are like the most like amazing broadcasters, but like I love when they bring on other people and it's just like talking shit and stuff. It's usually funny. So
Yeah, and I think you were saying that other people could do what inside the NBA do. I think it's really hard because I've seen people try it and it feels so forced.
yeah,
Yeah.
Those guys, you can tell that you can tell they have a personal relationship outside of the studio. You can tell they actually, have fun and that, because I've seen one of the things that they always do is like they're just talking so much that they cut they cut the commercial and these guys are still talking. You see them still engaging. And you see that on the news all the time where they act like they're having this amazing conversation and they're laughing and it just feels forced and doesn't feel real. Those guys, they actually, they just have that chemistry, and I think that's hard to find. And they, there's genuine love between those guys. You can see that, and yeah, I just think it's hard to replicate. But if
that's
more
true.
shows did what they do, then because I've even seen shows that when they have people send and fans that the fan engagement, I think is what makes it funny as well, because they'll post tweets and just cracking on them, and
Yeah.
and I think that adds to it because fans feel like they're involved. And I've seen other shows trying to do that, and it doesn't hit. It doesn't hit. I think Undisputed started trying to do that, and Skip was just like, "Why am I?" It sounds like he's like, "Why the hell am I doing this? This is stupid." So you were gonna say something, Sean?
No.
So moving on a little bit, what are some of the things that have made broadcasts better over the years? I know technology integration of technology is and these broadcasts and sports in general, obviously that's what we're a part of, are looking to integrate more technologies and more ways to get fans engaged because there's this dynamic of, do you want people to go to the game? There's two things. There's people the teams that want fans to come to the games and spend money at the stadium, so they want to bring an environment there. But then two, at home, you want that experience, and broadcast networks are trying to become more creative. What are some of the things that you've seen being done, that you think are cool evolution?
Mhm.
I
Sean.
like Yeah, I can go. I like one thing. I don't know if this is always like if they've always done this, but I feel like there's been more of a push to bring in like former players as like broadcasters and announcers. I do think that's
Hmm.
beneficial because like those are the guys, those are the people who played the sport, who were the guys who used to be, on the field. They know what's going on down there. They know, like Justin mentioned Tony Romo earlier. When he
Hmm.
first was a broadcaster, it was so funny. He would like literally predict the play that was about to happen. He's like, yeah, like I think he should like throw a post route here, and then the next play would be a post route. And it was like, I'm pretty sure like whatever broadcast network he works for like told him not to do that anymore.
They
And
did.
I actually think
That's what
he's
I heard.
gotten worse since then. But
Yeah,
like that was cool. I like that. I like seeing that, and I think a lot of the cool like the guys who I'm like, oh, that I really like him as a broadcaster. It's like former players and things like that. And then also I think just continuing to add new camera angles, new like sound bites. I love that they have started like incorporating like miking up players and stuff.
mm,
It's so funny when they do that and like you see like like the like I love seeing I'm a Dolphins fan obviously, but the Mike McDaniel, the coach of the Dolphins, every time they mic him up, it's hilarious. Like that guy's just like constantly like spewing nonsense. It's so funny.
Yeah, I really like I feel like nowadays the things that it's not directly related to like the live broadcast and stuff, but even just like the amount of podcasts that are around nowadays that are there to interview like all the players and stuff, like interviewing Aaron Rodgers during like training camp and stuff during the mini series that came. Or I think it was Hard Knocks that went to the Jets this season.
Hmm.
And just like
Hmm.
hearing his perspective on things on podcasts or even like Emmanuel Acho. I don't know if you guys follow him, but he'll post like clips from games and he'll break down oh, this is why uh, Patrick Mahomes made this play, like this blocker gave up this assignment or something like that. It's cool to see like the kind of behind the scenes, and it almost like creates like the story for you for like or like sets the context for like the game that you're watching. It's kind of like now, wow, I've spent so much time seeing Aaron Rodgers in training camp. Now I really can't wait to see finally watch him play live and like see the season go underway, kind of.
Yeah, I think the educational part where they take you through the game and the nuances of it and why particular things happen, why they worked, why they didn't work is I love that aspect of it. I think Tony Romo's, is great at that.
Mm.
I think shows like you know ESPN, NFL and ESPN or whatever, with Dan Orlovsky. I think he does a great job of breaking down plays. I love he does it on Twitter, but former offensive lineman. Uh,
I was just about to mention. Are you talking about Brian
Balding.
Baldinger?
Baldy, yeah, Baldy. There you go.
Yeah.
Baldy does an excellent job. I love his what is his thing? Baldy's what is the
I was
he
trying
has
to
like
think
the
of it.
big
I can't.
guys.
You know,
But
Yeah,
yeah,
but he does
I've
an
seen a
excellent
couple of
job.
his recently, and I really like he does a really good breakdown of like what's going on, like things
Baldy.
that like I wouldn't even know. What is
Yeah,
it, Justin?
Baldy's breakdowns.
Yeah.
Baldy's breakdowns. There you go. Yeah, he does an excellent job. I love what he does, and he's not the guy that does the guys from the best teams or the winning teams or the he just if a guy has a phenomenal play, he just breaks it down and he shows every aspect of what they're thinking, why they're doing things. I think that's wonderful. I think in soccer, I think there's a lot of fans that do that very well. I've seen it done in football too. There's really good channels from guys that never even played that break the game down in a really good way. But soccer, maybe because Arsenal, like thinking of some of the guys that break down, they do a good job of breaking things down as well. I think you pointed out something to show on the cameras. I think the having more angles. I know Amazon Prime for NFL, you can choose different camera angles, which I think is really cool. There's some data points that they give you as well, which are pretty good. Then I think as well, Jesse, you mentioned drones, but drones I think have become huge. GoPro, on extreme sports have changed the game. I think about the drones and like surfing competitions, and that they're getting those angles that just nobody was ever able to get before, like in X Games. Like seeing a skateboarder from that high up or being that close to them and having that like 10,000 foot view is like incredible. And then F1. I mean, seeing the entire track, from a drone shot is incredible. Even in football, the cameras on the rails that like
Mm.
go right over the huddle and give you that
Yeah.
above the field angle are really cool. And then I think uh, you know there's just so much more that can be done, but a lot of the things on the broadcast as well with the even the goal line technology showing, putting lines on the field. And, back in the day, you think about Madden and how he was that innovator that would use the chalkboard and circle things and that, he'd
Yeah.
draw the plays out. That was the big thing back then. But, even now, there's even more analysis that can be put on the game when we're watching it. Anything else you guys can think of in any of the sports we watch, this kind of evolution?
I've seen like the pylon cams. That's been a new thing within the past. Like I think you mentioned it, the goal line technology, but like
The
it's
camera.
still not used as much as I think it should be. But like I've seen a couple times this year where they've shown it, when someone's extending across the goal line, or like did they go over the pylon and they have a camera that's pointing like straight up and you can see the ball going over it. Um,
I
I like
I
that.
think
Like that's a good addition in my opinion.
I think too. You think about tennis because I've been watching tennis with the U.S. Open a lot. Is the court cams.
Oh,
showing
the
the balls.
the Rolex replays. Oh man, those
Yeah,
are great.
yeah. Because I mean, you watch it with your, in that split second, you're like, oh, that was in, and then you see the cat, like, damn, that was actually on the line or was out or whatever.
Every time I play tennis or pickleball or whatever, and there's like a questionable call, I'm always like, bring in the Rolex replay, do the Rolex replay, and like, obviously you don't have it for like a casual player like me, but if you did, that would be so cool.
And tennis, I think too, just seeing the serve speed every time, I'm just like,
Yeah,
that's something really cool that I'm always paying attention to is how hard these the tennis players are hitting the ball every serve, and then I love seeing they hit that first serve and it's just like 120, and then like seeing, damn, it's like 90 now for the second serve because they want to make sure they actually get it in. They're not going all out with it.
For sure. I wish for like football you could like pick which camera angle you wanted to watch the game at, rather than the standard like side view from like the side of the field. That'd be cool if you could see like head on, like see what Patrick Mahomes sees like overhead kind of. Or I even saw like a video on Twitter. I think it was like a video of like Tua or something. He had a GoPro on his helmet, and you could watch the play develop. I think it was in training camp or something. That would be so cool if you could watch the game like from his helmet. That would be awesome.
There was a company a few years ago, and I have to find them. I don't know if they're still operating, but they were a company that were embedding cameras in players' uniforms. So they
Yeah,
were doing football. I think they were doing soccer, rugby, but literally I mean, it's hard to do because of the shakiness, but and
yeah,
people getting sick and so forth. But the way they did it, it worked a little bit. I think they were refining it, but they were trying to get into the NFL. But they've done it too, Justin, in fighting sports with the ref cam. You know what I mean? You see,
that.
Pride used to do it. I think PFL, I think, does it now. A couple of organizations, even I think PBC did it in boxing at one time, but having the ref cam, uh, it, I just think the resolution wasn't high enough. But I think that it was cool to kind of feel like you were in the ring.
Yeah,
I'm
Um,
surprised that they don't use ref cams for things like football and things like that. But at the same time, it's like refs get ripped apart so much already for like missed calls and things like that. If there was like video evidence that is like looking directly at the play and they still got it wrong, like that would not be great for them. So
well, I,
yeah, yeah. So, what do you guys think the future of sports broadcast is? What do you think what do you think is on the horizon as that next thing that's going to make us wow us and keep us engaged in the particular sports we watch, or maybe even make us fans of new sports?
hmm,
I want robots telling me what's happening during the game. I'm kidding. I'm actually
No,
kidding.
that'd be silly.
I do think, obviously cameras are constantly improving, so better cameras is going to increase the broadcast. I'd love to see, more personalities, and like trying to find more of that like connection that you were talking about with inside the NBA. Like if you can
Hmm.
get people that work together like that, I feel like recently there's been a lot more movement with regards to like, this media companies trying to poach this broadcaster because he's popular, and it's
yeah,
like I just want to find people that work well together and
Yes.
watch them do a game together. I think just having more of that and less greed and less who can pay the person the most money would be nice. But yeah, those would be my top two.
it's kind of like the fight companions that Joe Rogan does for like the UFC, kind of like finding like the different personalities to watch the fights or watch the games with. Like you get to pick who you want to hear from. I guess it's kind of like that sort of idea. That'd be kind of cool. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think that yeah, the personalities and I, one thing I'll say about the broadcast, the shows that talk about sports is I'm tired of this argumentative, just for the sake of argument or arguing style of sports shows. I think it's gotten old. I think it's just dry. I want to hear people just talk about the sport. You know what I mean? And that's what I like about Inside the NBA is like they give analysis. There's that chemistry there. You just don't feel like it's a bunch of just random guys that they put together that are getting high, paid a bunch of money. Um, but they do it in a way that's it's almost comedic. You know what I mean? And they allow them to be themselves. They don't put a leash on what a lot of times what they can say. They can't outright curse and stuff like that. But I think what makes them different as well, they give them a lot of leeway. I know in Barkley's contract and Shaq's contract, there's a lot more wiggle room and leeway for behavioral type of things than in other networks. So I think if they take that rigidness, the rigidity of what they expect these broadcasters to do and say, and let them be themselves, I think that will be helpful. I think from a broadcast aspect, I would love for how close you feel, like I mentioned, F1. I would love to feel that feeling in other sports, like being more, not knowing what plays they're running and that type of stuff, but like Sean said, miking up the players on the sideline. I think one show that does an excellent job, and I meant to mention this earlier, Inside the NFL, they get sound bites that no other show gets. I think they're tied to the group that records does all the recording for the NFL on field. But their recordings, they bring you into the game like no other show. They're kind of similar to F1 where they're showing you the what's actually happening and the dynamics and the relationships and arguments, and
Yeah.
they do a phenomenal job. Unfortunately, I think they're streaming now. Um,
Mhm.
and that's one thing I meant to ask you guys about was streaming versus watching live. But yeah, they do the streaming thing. You know what I mean? Now, so it's not like you have access like you did, like Showtime used to do it. But I would love to have that level of tie into the sport, all these different various sports. Because, like I said, F1 does a way better job than all of these other sports in bringing people together and make you feel like you're actually in that on the track. You're in the paddocks. You're in you're tied to the sport. So if we could do that in other sports and via broadcast, I think that would be phenomenal.
Totally.
Yeah, what you were saying about what was the first thing you brought up about?
The inside the NBA and their chemistry and how like was that what you?
No, it wasn't that. It was shoot. Oh,
Oh,
uh,
yeah. Go.
like the ESPN, all these shows where they just argue with each other.
Mm,
I completely agree with you there. I think get rid of all of those. Like I'm fine with people sharing their opinions and stuff, but it's just like it's like half the time they choose these people and like one of the guys probably doesn't even believe in the side he's
yes.
arguing for. He's just yelling for the sake of yelling, and there's no point in that. I remember back in high school, I used to go home with one of my friends and we literally watched Sports Center at lunchtime, and it was like
Mm,
great. And then now like I wouldn't do that. It's not as fun. It's not exciting. It's not as fun. It's like
mm,
oversaturated the amount of like I just want to see like the highlights and the top 10 plays. It's like now everything's so like if I were to turn on Sports Center right now, I'd probably see like three segments on Travis Kelsey dating Taylor Swift, and
yes.
it's like
That's.
that that's all they talk about now. It's not about sports. It's not about the performance. It's about the drama, the tea. It's,
Yeah, I think you pointed out something I was just thinking about as you were saying it. The same topics over and over again. Regard like it was funny because the other day I just turned on the TV and I was like, let me see what they're saying about the NFL games on Sunday. Same, they were talking about the same topic on three different networks, and it's like it's always the and no disrespect to any of these groups because they're obviously the popular, they're what fans want to hear about, but it's either LeBron, it's the Cowboys, now
Great.
it's Dion and thing, but more diverse topics. You know what I mean? Like you can talk about those main topics, but we want a diverse set of topics, and sometimes you want to hear about these other teams. Sometimes you watch these shows, you don't even see the team. You don't even see the game that was the best game of the week on being talked about. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, I
So yeah, that's a good point, Sean. It's like just I'm tired of the arguing. I'm tired of like the forced arguments, really, because it's like a guy or a girl has to have an opposite viewpoint of the other person sitting across the table from them, and it just feels forced. So
What were you
I
saying,
think that will go
Justin?
a long way in making it better. And I agree with you with the Sports Center thing as well. I used to fall asleep to Sports Center. Like I used to watch a game, and I used to put on Sports Center, and I'd wake up like 3 o'clock in the morning and just watch the entire highlight package over again and wait for the top 10. And I don't even it doesn't intrigue me or move me anymore.
yeah.
What were you saying, Justin?
I was just saying I love that everybody talks about the Cowboys. It's my favorite part. Well, not in weeks like this where they lost. Now I don't want to watch anything, but in the good weeks
No,
where
you
they
might not
win,
want to turn on after last week, or last Sunday, I should
bounce
say.
back, bounce back.
Yeah, it's the Cowboys, Tom Brady, LeBron James, the Yankees. You probably, if you watched a full day of sports and you haven't heard any of those, then then reach out to us in the comments because I'll be shocked.
And it's not even just LeBron James. It's LeBron GOAT versus Jordan GOAT conversations. Like we're beating this thing to death already, people. Time to move on to another topic. You know, talk about what LeBron's doing with the Lakers now. You know what I mean? I'm tired of this damn GOAT debate. I'm tired of the term GOAT. Period. It's just overused, beaten up, and it's just you hear people talking about the GOAT. He's the GOAT of 2020, the 2020s. Like then he's the greatest of his time. He's the GOAT, not the GOAT, because GOAT is greatest of all time. Like it's just I don't know, man.
Let's
Well,
It's
let's not get into the goat debate. We've had some, if you want to know about our
no, it's
opinions on
not
the
even
goat,
about the debate of who's the GOAT. I'm just tired of the damn debate. Period. It's just they keep bringing this up on the shows, and it's just like, how many different ways and angles are you guys gonna try and portray this? Like everybody's gonna have their opinion, but it's like, let it go, man. Like let that go. Like, but that's a big thing that they use on each one of these shows. It's always a topic. They find some new angle, some new data point or something, and they're like they use it to bring this conversation on. I'm just sick of it. So yeah, with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in. If you have any thoughts on broadcast and what you'd like to see, I'm thinking also VR and watching games virtually in like a owner suite or something would be a dope thing to do. Or like your Dolphins, Sean, they have the comfort seats on the field. That would be a dope thing I'm thinking about. But if you have anything like that you guys are thinking that you'd like to see in broadcast in the future, put that in the comments section. Any shows you guys like to watch, put it in the comment section as well. And with that, just as always, follow Extropian. We're going to be key in the future of broadcasting, and we'd love to show you guys here soon what that's going to look like. And we know it's going to be integral in your viewing experience. So, that being said, thank you guys again. Have a blessed week. Enjoy yourselves. Be safe out there. Peace.